you're lucky enough, when you have really good news, you should always call your mom.
Hey there.
Hey, what you doing, Dr. Turner? This is your son, First Officer Turner.
Yes! Congratulations.
Thank you. I just got out of my check ride, and it was not beautiful, but I passed, and that's what matters.
That's what matters. That's what matters.
Is Dad around?
He's right here.
Hey, Dad. I'm retired. I'm retired.
Good for you.
Alright guys, today we are doing what is likely to be my last GA flight before attempting to go pro. Excuse my voice, I just got over the flu, and I'm feeling good. I sound a little bad though. So, either way, you know what, let's take off, we'll talk in the air. Fuel pump's on, mixture's rich, prop is forward, flaps up, trip set, doors locked, seats locked, everything looks good. Airline traffic, Commission 7420 Papas, enter runway 17 will be a downward departure to the northwest, Arrow Valley. Finals clear, front was clear. Alright, so updates. You might recall sometime about October 24, I mentioned that I had an interview with a regional.
I did have an interview yesterday at a regional airline.
Hey guys, I'm Brian, and yep, that is the bottom half of my face. If you need to unsubscribe, I'm thinking about just shutting it down. So where did my youth go? I got a job interview at an airline. I did what everyone's told me to do, is go online and put in my apps. There's a website that you can apply to all the airlines with one shot. It's not that simple, but it's kind of simple. And so today I got an email saying you've been selected as an applicant for this particular airline. But so today is really day one in figuring out how to prepare for an interview at an airline. There was about 2 months between the time they requested the interview and the actual interview date. They notified me about the interview on August 7th, and they set October 15th as the date for the interview. This gave me some time to prepare. So one thing that I understand as a part of this interview process is they do a logbook review. And I have my original paper logbook, which is kind of a mess, and I'm going to show it to you just in case you're concerned that your logbook is messy. Early on as a private pilot, I made a couple of mistakes logging some time, and those mistakes mean correcting with whiteout and making some notes along the way. After deciding that this didn't look great, I converted to an electronic logbook and never looked back. For my electronic logbook, I use My Flight Book. It keeps track of your training progress, which I printed so anyone conducting a logbook review could easily see where I stood. I also tab all my significant flights that counted towards my ATP rating, so night hours, cross-country, instrument. Additionally, I included all my endorsements and written test results. It's clean and easy to find what you're looking for. All right, so here's something else I hadn't thought of, and we're still gonna have to get used to the face. I got the camera they have the screen on the front now so I can see me, and I feel sorry for you. I don't own a suit. I legitimately do not own a suit, and I'm not trying to sound any kind of certain way, but as an IT guy, for my generation in IT, it's not really been a thing. Most of every interview I've been, I graduated in 2000, and the IT culture's been a little hip, I guess. So it's jeans and a polo, maybe khakis and a polo, and in the last, 10 years, it's just a shirt and no pants because you're on a Zoom call. But I'm going to go buy a suit. So we have to shave and we have to wear a suit now. I think this is what people refer to as being grown up. So I got me a suit. I showed up to the interview about 2 hours early to give myself time to get my nerves under control and also review some of the topics I suspected we'd be discussing. All in all, it went really well.
I did have an interview yesterday at a regional airline. And at the end of the interview, They gave me a drug test. They did a background check. They fingerprinted me. They said, congratulations and welcome aboard.
At the end of that interview, they said, anticipate a class date. And the guy said about 6 months. And even the way he said it, I think he was saying, like, it's going to be a while. Just assume 6 months. It'll, it almost implied it'll be less, but just plan for 6 and you'll be happy when they call. 8 months later, I think, I got the call. And so next Monday, I start class. I'm not going to talk a ton about this just because I don't know what the rules are. And it's probably my best interest to just keep my mouth shut until I know what I can and can't say and where I can and can't say it. But I am going to start training. What I understand is it's about 3 months of training. And I've done a little bit of preparation. I have a friend and mentor named Derek who's helped me out a great deal. He's a captain and basically kind of steered me in some directions. Like you might say, oh, I'm going to go fly for the airlines and I'm just going to get online and study and learn a lot of wrong stuff. And I think he's helped put some guardrails in so that I don't learn things incorrectly. So that's what's next for me. My hope is that it goes well, of course. My other hope is that I continue to fly GA. I really enjoy this. I will still put out videos when I'm able, and I still want to have fun. I still want to, make jokes and have a good time. And as I'm able to do it, I'll do it. So how did we get here? I started this channel, I don't know how many years ago as a VFR pilot, and that's all I was ever going to be.
You're not even instrument rated. VFR for life.
It was going to be a hobby. I always loved airplanes. I just love anything that flies, ever since I was a little kid. And so at one point I decided I'm going to go get my pilot's license. I was 36. So by the way, if you're like, I don't know what to do with my life, I'm getting old, I don't know if it's too late. I am 48 years old, and I'm about to go to class to start a new career, hopefully. I was 36, I got my pilot's license. And then just through some sort of internet forum sparring, I made that video, How to Land a Cirrus, just to kind of poke back at people that were poking at me, and the channel started. Along comes Gold Seal. I absolutely love Gold Seal's products. I think they are hands down the best online ground school out there. It has nothing to do with them sponsoring my channel. Gold Seal approached me and said, hey Brian, would you be willing to test out our instrument program? And I said, yeah. I did the instrument online ground school through Gold Seal. And I said, I'm a software guy. I said, I went through it. I think everything was good, and I was like, well, let's go find out if it works. So let's go take the written test. I took the written test, and I don't remember what I got. Probably a high B. Somehow through that, I ended up like, well, I'll get my instrument rating. I'll be an instrument rated pilot, and a lot of that actually came about after I had one flight where I almost got stranded, and I decided, okay, I really need to do this rating. And then I had another flight where I did get stranded, and I was like, okay, this is a valuable rating to have. So I got my instrument. April 1st of 24, my employer went out of business. 47-year-old company, furniture company. I was the head of IT. And about a year before my company went out of business, the writing was on the wall. And so I started looking for an IT job. Anything. Project manager, business analyst, whatever I could find. Programmer, director, VP, everything. And nothing. I've never looked for a job for more than 6 weeks of my life. And nothing. No calls, no nothing. And what I realized was my skill set had atrophied and the world had changed. Now higher level positions are needing to be more hands-on, and I quit being hands-on, I don't know, a handful of years ago. When my kids were born, I didn't have time to study all the time. I was very busy. So I thought, well, I'll climb that ladder and I'll just, be the vision guy and manage budgets. So 6 months to a year for looking for another IT gig, and just nothing happened, and realizing my skill set had atrophied. And about a month before the company went out of business, I was sitting in my car, and we were right just north of DFW Airport. You watch the planes land. I sometimes eat my lunch in my car and just watch these planes land. And I'm no joke, I'm going to try to find this up. I had a Post-it note that just said, I said, Brian, where do you want to be in 5 years? And I hadn't answered the question. It was a question that had been sitting on my desk because I knew my skill set wasn't valuable anymore. And I sit there and I see these planes flying over, and I just said, I want to fly jets. And I went and I got that posted. I want to fly jets in 5 years. April 1st, 2024, via a Zoom meeting, basically everybody's released. It was a really, really hard phone call to be on. Even though we all saw it coming, a lot of people had worked at that company for 30, 40 years. It was a really, really difficult time. And I'm the IT guy. I know what's coming because I'm the one who, for the last however many years, turned off this person's access. We're letting this person go. We're doing, I can see the data. So it was no surprise, but it was really hard. So I said, okay, I need about 400 hours, and I need some ratings. And so I was like, well, I want a plane, and let's just do it. And so I documented a lot of this last year. I think I flew close to 400 hours in a year. And then I was introduced to Jim Lewis, who was a fantastic instructor. Great guy, fun guy, really, really good for me, personality-wise. Great match. And got my commercial. Then my friend Dan Milliken calls me and says, hey, our multi-engine check ride is scheduled for Friday. I go, dude, I'm still sweating from the commercial. I just landed. He said, you need to come over to Grand Prairie tomorrow. And so, I documented that as well. I got my multi-commercial. And then I just flew the wings off this airplane. Oh, my God. So now we got the hours, we got the ratings, and I had that interview. And the interview went well. So a little over a year, a lot of flying. And I'll give a shout out, which is a weird thing to say because I don't give shout outs. There's this company called 6-7 Designs. If you follow Dan Milliken's Taking Off channel, he sponsors, 6-7 Design sponsors his channel. It's a company that makes all kinds of stuff, like GoPro mounts and iPad holders and you name it. And it's very, very advanced. I hate to use the word 3D printing because when you think of 3D printing, you think about extrusion stuff. It's not. The thing that's holding this camera right now is made by 6-7 Designs. Well, through my relationship with Dan, I became friends with the owner of that company. And we were just talking casually one day, and he said, he just called. He's like, how you doing? I said, you know what? I'm not doing that good. I said, I'm not working. I'm like, I'm home all day. I don't have a lot going on. I'm not someone who sits around and watches TV or movies. I don't consume much entertainment. So I started projects around the house. I started working on this outdoor kitchen that I wanted to build. I'm retrimming the house, rescreening, just inventing ways to kill time because I had nothing to do. And so the owner of 6-7 Design says, hey, if you need to get out of the house, I can put you to work. And I thought, oh, that'll be cute. I'll go in there and I'll, 3D print for a couple of weeks, and it'll be like, all right, and then I'll get out of there. I'm full-time now. I'm running, it's the workshop where we do the printing and we sandblast parts. All kinds of, we've come up with a process for coloring the things and dyeing them and doing different stuff. It's a very, very cool thing. I'm there 4 or 5 days a week now, and the owner's actually gone on vacation twice. So I've been out there running it, and it's the coolest stuff. I've worked for a lot of companies. These folks never talk about the bottom line. They talk about manufacturing in America, very, very important to them, and then trying to get young people into doing hands-on, tangible skills. So he wants to make things here, sell things here, and he wants people from here to go up and learn manufacturing. It's really, really cool. Go to 67d.com and look at some of their stuff. A lot of there's aviation-specific stuff. There's stuff for your car, your iPad. It's the coolest stuff, and a lot of it now is made by me because I'm in that warehouse daily. And it's really cool stuff. So just kind of an accidental thing that. So for the last few months, I've been out of the house. I've been working. It's been great. So another thing I hit on earlier, and I want to say this. I have 2 kids, 17 and 16 and 18. And we're doing the whole, what do you want to do when you grow up? My son's going to be a senior, and he's looking at colleges, and I don't know what I do. I'm 48. I said that before. I've had a 25-year IT career. When I got into IT, I loved writing code. I loved solving problems. I loved making software. I changed and the industry changed, and we're no longer compatible. And that's okay. But I don't think you're too old to do something completely different, to do an about face. So if you, I see people posting on the internet like, I'm 32 years old. Is it too late to get into flying? Hell no, it's not too late. Go. Do what you want to do. Go do what makes you happy. I remember being a kid, people saying, not a kid, but college age, don't worry about money, do what you love, and you'll never work a day in your life. Or, no one listens to that advice. My dad was a computer programmer, did really well, and I was like, I can't not do this. I love computers and software, and it's fun and easy. But it got to not be fun anymore. I used to write code, build data structures, do all kinds of stuff, and then at the end of my career, I'm just managing vendors and paying rent on services and hardware that has to be renewed every 3 years because it's no longer valid. I'm just babysitting companies, and that's kind of what IT has become. I don't want to do that. So next steps are, I'm going to go to class, and I'm going to learn how to fly a regional jet. And I'm going to hope that I do really well in class, and I'm going to hope that I get through it, and I'm going to hope that I come out on the other side with a job. And if I don't, I will have gained some life lessons, and we'll figure out what the next step is. But right now, we're going in with a positive attitude, ready to learn, ready to study, ready to work. And halfway through my life, I'm going to probably work harder than I've ever worked. But the goal at the end is so much better because it's something I really, really want to do.
All right, so here we are, and I don't know exactly what the plan is. Tomorrow is day one of Indoc. So I'm in a hotel in Dallas, about 15 minutes from the airport. Or sorry, not from the airport, but also from where we'll be doing our training. I'm feeling okay. I go back and forth between a little bit nervous and feeling like I'm going to be just fine, just because I've never failed to check right. I tend to do okay on these things. But just very jumping into the unknown and doing something out of the ordinary. I've done the same thing. I've done a 9-to-5 for my entire adult life. And now to just completely change is, right now I'm like, oh, this is getting real. Indoc takes place in a classroom setting with an instructor walking us through the flight manuals and also getting us set up with our iPads and getting familiar with the applications that the company uses. Additionally, this is an opportunity to learn the company procedures. It's a lot of information, but it builds the foundation for everything that's coming next. I'm on week 3 of my training. Week 1's called Indoc, and that is that's the fire hose you'll hear people talk about. Just a ton of information. There's these manuals called the Flight Operations Manual, Aircraft Operations Manual, the QRH. There's all these different books that you got to become familiar with in order to operate a commercial aircraft. So you do a lot of reading, and you're in class. We go from 7 to 4 every day. So every day I set my alarm for 5 o'clock, which is rough. And then we have class until 4, and then back to the hotel, grab some food, and then study what you learned that day. That was Indoc. That was the first week. We were at a little La Quinta Inn. Now they've moved us in this place, which is really awesome. I'll show you around in a second. It's super cool. Oh yeah, week 2 was more reading, and then also emergency training. We got to go down the slide. We got to learn some of the mechanics of how some different parts of the aircraft work. And we got to practice putting out fires and doing all kinds of emergency stuff, which was really a lot of fun. It's kind of like the field trip of the second week. So up until now, it's just been an onslaught of information. So step 1, Indoc. Step 2, CBTs. Step 3 is systems. And then tomorrow we have what's called KV, which is knowledge validation. So tomorrow we have a big test over all of the stuff we've studied. And then the following day we go into the FMS lab. The FMS is the computer you use to program all the autopilot information, performance information. So we go to the FMS lab and start learning how to do that. And then after that, you go into what's called a procedure trainer. We've got a few of them across the hall from where I've been training, and there's 2 sort of mock procedure trainers, actually 3 here at the hotel. To elaborate just a little bit, the FMS lab is basically a computer lab with flight simulators loaded on each machine. There's a virtual FMS we use to plan routes, holds, courses, and altitudes. We run flights from start to finish and practice programming the box for different phases of flight. Since access to the FMS lab is limited because they teach classes in there, a lot of us got this FMS simulator for our iPad so we could continue to practice on our own time. After that, as I mentioned, the procedure trainers were next. These are non-motion simulators that look kind of like this. We bid for these and we get a specific time slot. Some time slots started as early as 6 a.m. and some went until 2 a.m. This portion of the training with procedure trainers, they just call the CPTs. This is where the training got really tough. You've got a time-limited window to accomplish tasks to proficiency in order to prepare for a PV or procedure validation test at the end. Once you're done with your CPT session for the day, it's back to the hotel to continue to practice. During this portion of the training, they had us in hotels that had these mock procedure trainers. This would allow us to practice our callouts and flows, and we were each provided a poster that we could hang on the wall in our hotel room so we could go back and continue to practice after hours if needed. This phase of training is critical because it's what prepares you for the simulators. So this day was my observation flight. This is the first time I would ever walk onto an airliner and turn left instead of turning right. The observation flight is an opportunity to sit in the cockpit jump seat and observe the flight crew flying the airplane. It's 2 legs, out and back, and it's a chance to see what we've been studying applied in real time. A lot of firsts were wrapped into a single moment here. First, front row seat in a jet, departing a Class B airport on a plane full of passengers, watching a crew in action. This is the airline equivalent of a discovery flight. It gets really real at this phase of the training. My observation flight is what we call a turn, which is a flight out and back. I went from DFW to Springfield, Missouri and back, and it was every bit as exciting as I thought it might be. All right, so an update. Right now, it's the second week in July. Friday, I passed my PV or procedure validation, and then they give you a week off before you go to the sims. And so what you do during that week is try to grow facial hair because we can't have it at the airline. So anytime you have a series of days off, like the focus is just don't shave. So I passed the procedure validation. I've got a week off. It's the second week in July. I finally came to terms with the fact that I'm not going to Oshkosh this year. I canceled my Airbnb in Appleton a couple days back. And it makes me sad. If you've been following the channel for any length of time, you know every year I go to Oshkosh, I hang the NOTAM, and this was here for 2025, this spot, but I think I know I'm going to put there this year instead. If all goes well, stay tuned. With the procedure validation and the CPTs out of the way, the next thing was the full motion simulators. During this phase of training, my priority as far as documenting what's going on was exactly 0. Once you're at the simulator phase of the training, if you're awake, you're training, you're studying, you're not doing really anything else. There's no downtime. For me, the younger guys were having a lot easier time with it. Those of us that were in the plus 40 crowd, we were hammering every waking hour at studying and preparing and doing everything we had to do so we'd be ready for these simulator sessions. So the simulator is remarkably accurate. It feels just like being in an airplane. They recreated all the sensations that you would feel if you were in an airplane at different pitch angles. That's pretty awesome. The lessons in the simulator are very similar to the ones that we were doing in the procedure trainers, but now we're doing them with full motion. And it was very similar setup. We would have one leg where you're the pilot monitoring and one leg where you're the pilot flying. Once you had completed a specific number of these simulators, an instructor would sign you off and say, all right, you're ready for what's called your maneuvers validation. All right, today's update. It's a little after 2 o'clock in the morning. And I just got signed off to take my MV, which is a maneuvers validation. So that was basically, tonight was my last sim. If that goes well, next will be called the LOE, which is the final ride for my type rating. But right now I can't even think straight. I'm going to bed. So feeling tired, but I'm feeling really positive. This is something that's been really, really hard that I've been working towards. So maneuvers validation is next. So past the maneuvers validation, the next was the LOE. This was, I know what it is now. This is after the fact, but going into it, I was told this is one of the easier checking events. It's not bad. It's a simulation of an actual line flight like you would do out there. They're going to give you a departure on arrival. You're going to take off from here. You're going to go there. They may or may not throw an emergency in along the way to make sure that you can follow the proper process for when that happens. They just want to see that you can do these things. So it's a slower paced, lower stress checking event, but it's the last thing that you do before they put you out on the line. And that's when you get signed off and get your ATP, your airline transport pilot certificate, and they go take a picture of you out in front of the simulator, and that's when you get in your car and you go call your mom and dad if you're lucky enough to be able to do that. Click this link to see the most recent video upload. Click this link to see a video that YouTube thinks you might like. Click this link to subscribe to my channel.